Welcome to another episode of Inspired Content, where I'll be looking at some art that I saw within the last year at the Visionary Arts uh, Center in Baltimore, Maryland. And I'll be looking at 3 pieces and then coming up with ideas for creating new art inspired by uh, experiencing these pieces in their natural habitat, I guess I'd call them. So let's get a look at some of the artworks here, and I'll see if I can maybe record some audio for these. This is actually 3 pieces. The cards on the side only include 2 of them. I couldn't find the 3rd card for the little watch. But the first one is Ghosts of Triton by Jim Duran, and I love the fact that on the side it's a herring tin, and if you follow it far enough down to the bottom, it says all the ingredients used in it: ink and paper, glow-in-the-dark acrylic, but also it says magic. I love that as like one of the ingredients used in making it. And the one just beneath it is the Ghost and the Grandmother clock, and this one includes ectoplasm as one of its ingredients. So I thought that was sort of a fun little play on these little dioramas? I mean, I don't know what else to call them. Okay, and then next we have this piece here, which is super bright. It's a very bright canvas. It says mixed media on canvas by Antar Mikos, The Gateway. And I think the colors are just so mind-bogglingly sharp. And if I remember correctly, they do have 3D glasses that you can wear that cause the differences in color levels to separate out, but don't remember if that was one of the ones that did that. And then this one is a piece by Swan, Cosmic Egg, oil on canvas. And I gotta say, I'd never heard of this artist before, but I knew this was an artist that I would have to look into more. All right, so those are the 3 pieces we've got right now. So where is everything? There we go. Chasing a lot of stuff there. So overall, I would say, like, these are just 3 of the pieces. I'll be going over more of the pieces from this particular museum, but if you haven't been, you need to go check out the Visionary Arts. What's the full name of it here? All right, so this is the American Visionary Arts Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. And if you haven't had the chance, you should take the chance to go see what they have there. These are just 3 of the pieces that I saw on an afternoon of wandering through, and I'm not a slow museum goer, but I would be hard-pressed to say that you can finish it in a day. I can walk through a Smithsonian Art Museum in an afternoon, a couple hours max. This one, I could spend all day looking at some of the stuff in there. And they're interesting and unconventional approaches to artwork. And that's some of what I really appreciated about the exhibits there. But these pieces in particular, hopefully the images are working all right. Finding some contrast between what my camera can photograph and what my video editor will let me insert into the video. But the works, starting with the first one here, we'll take a look at is number 1. Ideas this inspired are, I kind of like the idea of, like, I mean, he's using tins, and I do like the use of the tins to make things, but the thing it makes me think about are sculpture with little eye holes that give you a forced perspective on rooms or spaces that are inside an object that are done in that sort of diorama stacked 3-dimensional forced depth perspective. So I think it'd be fun to do, just like seemingly everyday objects with eye holes in them that you look through and see whole places that can't possibly exist in those spaces. Um, I think that would be a kind of a fun project to do. Number two is to reverse that process potentially, and could you make a series of stacked sort of silhouette, almost like shadow puppet theater, where they have the screen and then they put different sets and puppets up and project the shadow on? Is there a way you could do like a pocket tin with a light in the back of it and layers of shadow that are like obstructing objects that cast shadow, and then a lens to project it, like a little pocket projector that isn't moving film or anything or a digital feed? It's a cutout silhouette artwork that when you just pick out the little tin, hit a button, and it shines a light on an object and projects an image um, of an artwork that you've made. Now, could you do it with silhouettes or maybe even layered stacks of the colored films used in stage plays to set different environments? So like a red and a blue film do different things, but where they intersect, you get a purple section of film. Could you do cutout, filigree, or abstract artworks in those patterns? It's sort of like a reverse kaleidoscope, honestly, but if you did less abstract works and more representative works, um, what kind of interesting things could you do with that? Where the artwork is the light being cast in those shapes from a piece of a tin with some lighting in it. Anyway, so that's the two ideas I had kind of off the top of my head about the tin work there, the tins with the artwork in them. Number three, partially inspired by the brightly colored gateway artwork, is like a sense of using other color spectrums to paint things with. Like doing paintings, like realistic paintings of portraiture in thermal imaging style. So like the blues and the reds and the yellows used to illustrate the temperature depth of certain areas of a character. And number four, I kind of want to do a piece, like a non-mixed multimedia. I mean, like, I feel like it would be kind of fun to do a piece of artwork where one part of it is done in watercolor and one part is done in like oil painting, and maybe one's done in like charcoal pencil, and like you don't blend the edges, they don't bleed into each other. There's just suddenly this stark, like halfway through a person's face, it goes from charcoal pencil to um, a oil painting, and but not in a way that looks unfinished. It's literally like somebody did the same image, cut cut it up, and made a collage of, but it's all the same picture. It's to the right proportions. One line starts in charcoal and then picks up an oil painting, and then one ear is suddenly in watercolor with the hair. And it's just sort of like it's intentionally done as sort of like if you were to have a person's image in a mirror and the mirror cracked and those sharp angles of the cracks in the glass, below it is oil painting and above it is charcoal pencil, and it's just sort of like it's intentionally done as a sort of a shattered media perspective. Now I don't know why this brightly colored semi day glow, maybe 3D artwork made me think that, but that sort of way of changing the visual mechanism by which we see shapes and structure. I mean, that's all I can say. All right, number 5. Um, Indigo Swan's cosmic egg. If you look at the clouds and the structure of the water that meets the land, there's almost a streamlined, modern, deco, minimalistic, maybe even a little googie art style in there, that it's not super realistic. It's that very kind of Vegas casino um, or diner from the 50s sort of feel to like the impression of the landscape and the clouds that you see. But in the meanwhile, in the background, you have this very kind of cosmic galaxy through a rip in space with realistic light flares from like the camera angle that it's doing, and it's this combination, and so it makes me think of doing something like if you were to take a realistic looking um, scene, like a guy sitting at a table in a diner, a real person, like those, like Roger Rabbit is a realistic person right next to a cartoon rabbit. But instead of using cartoons, you used cubist forms as his dinner mate, and the waitress is done in a Googie style or an Art Deco style. And it's just like combining styles as if they're characters in your set painting of people interacting. And number 6. For this painting in particular, I mean, I love the idea of an egg that instead of being an object that is positive space, I mean, like an egg is a white thing or a brown thing that sits in front of things, obscures things behind it, and um, is the can be something things are placed onto, but you don't see through it. And I feel like the approach to this, where you do something that is um, an egg that's almost more of a tear in the fabric of space, it's a negative object. It's an absence of a thing in that space that should be there. It's an absence of space in that space and like an opening rather than a. It's a hole rather than a egg-shaped object. And so like the thing that makes me think more of, honestly, is like drawing or painting things that are lenses, like the focus of the painting being a lens that lets you see things past where that focus is. Like it's it's weird because you can see in this one, like when the piece is called the cosmic egg, the idea that the work itself, the landscape all around it is there, but the thing you're focusing on is not a thing. It's a push through to another thing. It's a view into a place that's beyond the place that it's set in. So it's a window. It's a lens in a wall. You walk up to the wall and the wall has all its own characteristics, but you look through that lens and it opens up into a whole different area. And I kind of like the idea of a variety of different shaped lenses bringing into focus worlds that are not visible in the front region. So it's like looking through raindrops and seeing the rainforest, and the raindrop is on a city window with skyscrapers all around you on the background. Like I like the idea that the drop itself, the lens of the drop of water, reflects an image that all around that drop of water isn't there. It's catching something from some other angle that's not quite there. So I think that would be an amazing series of paintings you could do. You know, water droplets, spherical, elongated, jig-jaggedy patterns, or maybe even make um, shapes that are like other objects, a seahorse, a star, a heart. And when looking through those heart-shaped lenses or seahorse-shaped lenses, seeing worlds that are not in the objects being around them. So it's lensing into a whole nother reality. So I could totally see doing a series of paintings like that. I don't know that I have the skill to do it, but I could see that being, I could give it a try at some point. All right, so those are the ideas I have for inspirations taken from these three artworks at the American Visionary Arts Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. I will probably do the next round of artwork about some more artworks from the Visionary Arts Museum because there was a lot there that was worth talking about and sharing. All right, so I'll see you for the next episode. Take care of yourselves.